Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about MBTI and how you guys can actually type yourself and also see which test that I'm going to say that is reliable, at least in most cases. The thing about MBTI is that when you want to type yourself, you need a reliable test. And the thing is that because I myself have very different test results, and right now I completely have a different one that I did last time, and it can take like years and also your own research to find out which is really your real MBTI. MBTI is just like a personality test, and it also has with it its cognitive functions, so you can actually know that with these cognitive functions what are your strengths and weaknesses and how you actually use it to help you make decisions or in like everyday life. So basically what I mean is just that with MBTI you have cognitive functions and you need that because that's the most important. The thing about MBTI is that if you want to really just type yourself based on like researching the different 16 personalities and everything, it's okay. But the thing is, I think everybody has their own way of seeing themselves and like how they fit descriptions inside themselves, and that is fine. But the most important thing is that cognitive function really helps you to know how you really think about situations or about certain life events that take place. So I think that's the most important. So if you really want to be sure, you can take tests like Sakinova or keys to cognition, because that is one of the most like both of them are accurate. So I think you guys can take it. I'll leave the links in the description below. And also there are also a lot of things to take note. You are only just one MBTI, so you can never be like different ones at the same time, which might take a lot of tries and answering accurately and without any bias, so you can really know yourself. And yeah, actually I also took it on 16 personalities, and eventually I got what my result is now. Like, I know 16 personalities is just not the accurate test because it actually just types based on the answers you gave from the question, so it doesn't really like say your cognitive functions and how your MBTI uses that. Because if you take 16 personalities and you compare it to Sakinova and keys to cognition, you will see that keys to cognition actually really tells you your lead function and your second lead function, which is really great because 16 personalities don't do that. They just measure based on like, for example, extroversion versus introversion, and you have like the most percentage that you lean towards most, and the rest are just like normal things that like, for example, ENTP or INTP, you have this scale where different parts of the letters match up to it, so it's really kind of not really cognitive functions. So I'll just show you guys that in every MBTI there's different cognitive functions. So you'll see that there is the first one and also the last one. The first one is your lead function and how you are really good at it, and the last one is your inferior function, which is the one that you struggle most and is probably like a weakness, but it can be developed. So I'm saying that when you take the test, you will get to see what I mean. When you go to keys to cognition, you get to see that they give you your lead function and the second function, which you use really good, and also that's the one that you should rely on rather than its 16 personalities, because it is not really accurate and they will give you the processes. So actually the important thing about doing MBTI and also to make sure you have the correct MBTI is to also look at the loops and grips of your MBTI given result, and if it really fits you, and once you go and also read the descriptions, and also you get to learn more about the different types of functions and how you think is the way you think, and also how that's just consistently you over a period of time. So I think MBTI can change, but the thing is, it is basically very consistent. Once you found an MBTI type that really suits you and you really resonate to it, I think it's just fixed, because that's just how you think every day. And I know there's probably a lot of mistakes that could happen, but once you research more deeply into it, you will understand that okay, that is you. And the most important thing is that you got to see, when you have this MBTI type, you also have to see your shadow function, which is opposite your own MBTI type. So for example, opposite of ENTP is INTJ. So when you are stressed, you can kind of like look like, or probably think like an INTJ, which is really bad, especially under very severe extreme stress. You just always act out like your shadow MBTI type and function, which is really not the ideal case, because you should always just be one MBTI, and it's just in this case the NTP. So that's the thing that I can really just tell guys. Also, when I just found out based on my psychology lecturer that, for example, if you're a sensor, you can actually kind of also, when you look at a situation, you can also kind of like think like an intuitive sometimes, but then you go back to just sensing using your 5 senses. But when you are intuitive, you just and like, for example, INTP, then you would always prefer to think and stay like an INTP and think like that, and not as an ISTP. But what I'm saying is they're all different, but in some cases sensors can also think like an intuitive, but ultimately they just stick to their own. But I think for intuitives, they just prefer to stay as intuitives and not really think like with the sensing, like the sensors. So yeah, so I think you can also learn more about yourself when you know your MBTI results. You can see and search about when you're in stress, loops and the grips. And yeah, so the important part is that sometimes your inferior function can really just be developed because you are known as gripping, which any DOMs are prone to really grip on their last inferior function, which is not really a bad thing as long as your leading functions really lead you in your everyday life. So it doesn't appear as in like you use your last function, which doesn't really help you, and it's still a weakness that you don't have to actually really use it as a first one, because that is just really not it, because it doesn't lead you. It's just something that you struggle with. So yeah, it can be developed. Everybody can develop their own functions. Once you realize that you have known your functions and you read about each individual function, you can actually really develop and learn more about it. So it doesn't have to be turned into an unhealthy personality, which I think personalities are just one part of it. Your MBTI doesn't define everything. If you are facing an extreme illness or severe illness, or you have a mental health disorder, I think it might also really alter it a bit, but most importantly, you can be sure of yourself and how you think. So it just affects a bit, but I don't think your MBTI will be affected at all, because there's only one ultimately. So it just takes a few research and to really see that if it resonates with you, and that's how you know it's your ultimate one. I've been spending like years trying to really figure out, and I think I'm sure of it, but if you're really unsure, I think I recommend that you just believe in your own research and importantly cognitive functions, because that really determines everything about your MBTI, not just based on descriptions, because it's also how we think. And I think that's the most important part. And you can always go to like a professional typer who has like probably like a background in psychology, or somebody trusted if you really want to know ultimately, but that costs money. So yeah, but yeah, if you can never be sure, just always do what I say, and also not just take it as like a whole personality test on its own, and it doesn't have to define you. I mean, yeah, it does relate to you, but you can still grow as a person. If you think that you were having struggle and like weakness in this particular thing you want to improve on, go ahead, and never be tied to stereotypes. Stereotypes are really bad because it just gives you this really false image that it might be true in certain people, but not everybody is like that. I think everybody is different, no matter how the same MBTI you are, or no matter how you have the same MBTI or like similar characteristics. Everybody is still different and their own person, so you should never really think that you should be tied to anything. You can be your own person on your own. And yeah, so there's also Enneagram, and Enneagram is something that is a test that helps you with your basic fears and desires, which you can take the test below, and you can get to see your instinctual variant, which is XX, SO, or SP, and you get to know. The thing I recommend is that on Enneagram, it's just something that you take, and I think you can never really go wrong. Like, it's just because basically it's your fear and your desires in one test. I don't think it's that complicated. I think you can always just read up also, but you can just see what you really resonate with. But I think this test has had me consistently as the same one, so it's reliable. And yeah, and you can also search your MBTI and also your Enneagram, and you can see that you can learn more about yourself and your fears and desires, and you get to really understand how you behave and how you think. So yeah, I think it's a really cool test overall to just find out like how you behave and how you think. And yeah, so it's really important to also look at other things. There's a lot of other things, like you can take the attitudinal psych test to know about different categories you fit in. There's also the Big 5 personality test also, so you get to know what are your characteristics like, and also they also get it tell you your occupational careers that are just recommended, but also you can just go ahead and find your own job that suits you. It's also fine. And the instinctual variant is just if you are social or like crave intimacy, I like being alone with someone and like oneness with someone and really have that intimate connection. That's XX. And also SP is just like you let it preserve and like your materials like money, and also focus on well-being and safety. SO is just being social and like liking people and talking to them, and you get to really learn about yourself a lot. Also, it doesn't have to be associated with like stereotypes. Like I said before, like there's this stereotype that goes on that like says that if you are this, you also have like this mental health disorder, which is wrong because not everybody has that, and it doesn't have to be related to that. So yeah, you guys can take it in the personality links below, and you will find out what you don't know about yourself before. I think the rest of the tests are cool, but the most important one is MBTI and how you can really see and know yourself and your strengths and weaknesses. And yeah, so never care about being assertive or turbulent. I think that's just one that 16 personalities gave you as a result along the MBTI. But it doesn't really matter because I think everybody gets stressed, and also they just put like assertive and turbulent A and C, but I think in the community nobody really puts importance in that. We just kind of take it as the MBTI itself and not just A and C. It's just one MBTI. So the important thing when you have you can look for other people similar like you who are compatible with you, I guess, and also that you can always like make friends with people who are like-minded, or like also different personalities can also get along. So yeah, and I also recommend this app below that you can find your own friend or more, depends. So you guys can also check it out. So I think it's really cool, and I'm just recommending this to you guys. And I hope that you guys have a really good journey in MBTI and find out your true self as an MBTI. I know people have been like missed out a lot, and it still is a process. Sometimes you wonder if you are really this type or not, but I think it's best to be sure and to research about it yourself. And yeah, when you have this MBTI, it really just makes you feel like comfortable, especially if you're in a community. You go to Reddit or find people who are like you can get like a sense of like having a common thing with people, or just having like this like, hey, I get you and you get me, kind of like thing. So it's really cool, and I hope you guys will enjoy the test below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.